A little while back, I made a video which was about the basics of standing position, but I think I can do it a little bit better and explain things in a little bit more of a cohesive way. So, welcome back to Mini Tip Monday. My name's Lel Pavey, and this is the basics of standing position. For me, standing position is kind of a two-part concept. In this video, we're going to go over the basics of good, solid riding technique in an easy environment, how to be balanced, what you should be doing, and what you might be doing wrong. Once you've done that, then you can start to absorb more complicated concepts like how to move properly on the bike and where you should be transitioning your weight in different environments. But you can't do that before you've got the first bit absolutely spot on. How you stand on the foot pegs is fundamental to your whole riding position. Firstly, you want the foot peg to sit roughly between the ball and the arch of your foot. It's about the middle point of your foot. It gives you a really good contact with the foot peg. Next, you want your toes tucked in. If you don't tuck your toes in, there's a really good chance you're going to catch them on something, especially once you become a better rider, and that's going to break your leg. Now, the really important part of how our feet are on the foot pegs is where our balance is. What you're looking for is for your weight to be through the heel of your foot. When your weight is into your heel, it's the same as when we stand up in real life, and it lets us be really, really balanced. If your feet are flat on the foot pegs or your toes start to dip forwards, it's essentially the same as standing on your tiptoes. And when you stand on your tiptoes, you're never very balanced. It's easy as hell to get you off balance, and that's the opposite of what we're looking for when we stand up to ride off-road. The goal is to figure out how to be as balanced as possible. So putting your weight backwards through your heels and letting your ankles sink is perfect. Oh, and lastly, to change gear and to use the back brake, we're now gonna have to move our feet a little bit. This changes a tiny bit as you get better, but primarily you don't want to accidentally bump the controls, and you do want yourself balanced. So we have to compromise a little bit, put a little bit more effort in to moving our leg to change gear. With standing position, straight legs is an abstract concept, but the underlying message is correct. When we start to ride off-road, we start with nice, straight, relatively relaxed legs, and then any forward or backwards movement comes primarily from the ankles and the hips first, followed by the legs. It's a concept that looks like this. However, that concept of straight legs is slightly more nuanced than it initially seems. When the terrain gets more complex, the position changes, so stay away from that keyboard. Everyone's legs are a little bit different, they work in different ways. Some, like mine, hyperextend quite a lot, so my legs end up quite a bit straighter than some other people's. You have to find your own position, so to find that, once you're on the foot pegs, lock your legs out, relax a little bit, and just add a tiny bit of bend. It gives you that tiny bit of flex over soft bumps without you being in a compromised, stress position. As with our feet, hand position matters greatly when we ride off-road. It genuinely determines how easy it is to control the bike and how easy it is to stay balanced. If you've got a bad habit here, or you're coming from street riding, it's definitely going to be something that's going to take a bit of effort to change. As it is with our legs when we stand up on the bike, your hand position is actually a little bit fluid, but there is a really good basic principle for where your hands should be and how they should interact with the handlebars. You want to start with your hands on top of the handlebars and slightly turned out so that the outside of your palm can put pressure on them and help you change direction. When you put yourself in this position, you've got one or two fingers on the levers and the other two able to grip the handlebars. It gives you a capacity to use all of the controls and control the bike at the same time. When it comes to your head, it's also really important that this is in the right position. If you imagine in this shot that I'm putting over the top, there's an imaginary line that runs from the forks upwards. It's going to cut your head in half. That is the perfect position to start from. It's going to change when you ride. All of this changes when you start to ride and other things come into play. But if you're stood on a center stand, that's how it should look. When you start to put all of that together, it looks like this lovely shot that I'm playing over the top. For me, the biggest tip you can take away from this is that you need to see what you look like. So get someone to film you while you're riding along a gravel road or across a field so that you can judge your own position versus these tips in this video. On top of that, when it comes to off-road riding and great technique, it's a really, really varied thing. Everybody moves in different ways, everybody is a different size, and that will definitely have an impact on the technique that you ride with and what can be achieved. Even some of the best riders in the world have different hand positions, and they ride with their toes pointing out or with flatter feet, or they bend their knees a little bit more. But generally, as principles, if you start to work towards these as goals, it's going to massively improve your riding. If you've enjoyed this video, maybe throw us a like and a subscribe, because we'll be back pretty shortly with another one covering how you should move well and how to deal with more advanced concepts and advanced riding situations in respect of standing up. Our Mini Tip Monday series comes out much, much earlier on Patreon. Part of our Patreon package is that we run mini tips and we run our podcast in series, and you can check those out there. And lastly, if you like this jumper, you can also get one on our shop. The link is in the description below. And remember, life's better when you're riding.